I've got a tool for you if this has been an overwhelming week for you, or just a week that's had some really challenging things in it, because I've been having conversations with various people, whether in the homeschool realm or not, who've had really, really hard things going on. And whether you're in the homeschool realm or not, these experiences that we do have in our lives, our family lives, whatever scenario, it's affecting how we show up in our homeschools. It's affecting the level of energy that we have for our lives. It certainly affects how we engage our kids. Sometimes it involves our kids, but assuming it doesn't, it is affecting our experience in our homeschool life. And so I wanted to give you a tool, one that I learned and continue to put into practice when really hard things happen. So it's called RAIN. It's an acronym. It stands for RAIN, and it's, to me, it was initially introduced to me through a lady named Tara Brach, a lovely spiritual mother who has much to share about this concept. And I'm going to abbreviate it and fly over it in a way that probably won't do it full justice, of course, but my goal is actually to give you a useful tool. She wrote a book called Self-Acceptance, or Radical Acceptance, which should probably tell you everything about what I'm about to tell you. When we're having really challenging stuff going on in our lives, and you know what it is for you, it could be anything. I have listened to the full gamut of all the possibilities this week. 100% heart-wrenching stuff. And been there, done that. I've had many of my own experiences too, where you feel like this is too much. And I just don't have the wherewithal. I don't want to do this. This is so uncomfortable, or this is so painful, or this is so shocking, or this is so betraying is one of the words that I've heard, or stressful. When we tell ourselves that, we are most definitely making it more challenging, but no question, there are moments in our lives that really do feel like, thank you very much, this is a bit much. It does feel like it might break me. It doesn't have to. I do understand that it feels like that. We have these moments where we have to, well, we don't have to. We can, and we have the opportunity to do something with them that doesn't seem intuitive at all. And using the acronym RAIN, the first thing that I learned through Tara Brach is that we need to recognize what's going on. What are we really feeling? Or what is the thing that we've been experiencing? Sometimes this can take a very long time for us to get clear what the actual dynamic is. We don't always have a really strong sense of something when we've first experienced this thing. We don't really know for sure. What is it? So it is worth saying, do this all the time, this practice, get familiar with it, practice it, so that over the course of time, whatever the scenario is that you're challenged by, is something that you have a little more clarity the longer you're recognizing that feeling again here, or that experience that you're having. So stopping to recognize it does assume that we're not going to ignore it. And I know I've seen it in the culture, I've seen it in myself and important people in my life. Our tendency is to want to ignore it, so we'll just keep getting busy. Or in my experience, because I'm an Enneagram 2, I try to make people feel better while I'm struggling. That's something that I do. But for various reasons, people do certain things to ignore how they feel, or try to not feel the feeling or the experience in the first place. And though it makes sense why we do that, it doesn't work. It compounds the challenge that we have. Sometimes it means that we go underground with our feeling, and we don't require other people dance with my dog. We don't require people to pay attention to what our needs are. Sometimes it means that we pretend away that we're actually a human being that has needs for a very long time until we come to a screeching halt and realize I am burned out, or I'm exhausted, or some variation of that. So we have to recognize, we have to be willing to stop and recognize whatever is going on. A for rain is to accept. And that acceptance means that we have to allow ourselves to be in an unpleasant place at times, accepting that this doesn't feel good. I would rather not feel this way. This is interfering with my productivity or my plans for the day. It's interfering with my relationships. When we accept whatever said challenge, we actually lean into reality and allow for things like solutions to rise in a much more meaningful way than they could if we were putting up resistance against it. So we need to accept whatever the challenge is. So RAIN, R-A-I-N. The I is the investigation. We're investigating what the thing is. Learn more about the challenge. Get curious about what the scenario is or the setup is. You can do that with a journal. You can do that with a coach. You can do that with a therapist. You can certainly do that over the course of time if you're being honest with yourself and you've got a practice of, say, journaling or doing the mirror work, looking into a mirror each day and talking to yourself. Or as one of my kids does, she vlogs. You can do it in whatever form or fashion, but regularly investigating if this is a repeat of experience for you. So RAIN, R-A-I-N. I'm trying to do this with Violet. And actually, funny enough, this is something that I do for the N, and it is Nourish. Nourish ourselves at moments. It's why we should be doing it all the time, of course, getting into the practice of routines of nourishing ourselves, but doing things that truly nourish our souls, that make us feel special, that make us, help us to see ourselves, help us to feel like we're acknowledging what our needs are and that we're nurturing our needs, also known as nurturing the nurturer. I hope you've got a few tools that you've heard me use, especially in the wellness strategy or the wellness challenge that I shared last week in Facebook in the Homeschool Mama support group. There's a variety of nurturing strategies, but I'm going to repeat this discussion because it is something that I share in my self-compassion course for homeschool moms about RAIN, Tara Brock's ideas, and I go into much greater depth there. But this notion of recognizing what's going on, acknowledging it, investigating it, and nourishing yourself. We need to have more discussions about this because it is not our default setting to nurture the nurturer. But especially after last week, with all the stories that I've heard, and I've heard so many different kinds of stories, but I hope you had a great week and you were the one person that doesn't relate to this IG Live. But we need to come up with a plan to regularly nourish ourselves, to recognize, to allow or accept, investigate, and nourish. I hope this has been useful for you, and I hope that you have a much better week next week. And if you're looking to have a conversation with me in coaching, just ask me for a link and I'll send you one. I hope it's a great weekend.